So I'm not very good at this, but I'm gonna try anyway. Uh, Recently, I've been coming up with a lot of small projects and have been doing interviews and all sorts of other stuff. And I want to add a little bit more diversity to the projects I've been creating. So I thought I'd come up with something new. So during the process, I thought of what might be a good initial project to go through that's larger than just a web project. And I thought of a pill dispenser. My grandmother's getting older, and she's having problems remembering what pills to take, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I know there's a lot of pill dispensers out there, but a lot of them cost a lot of money or are fairly hard to use for, especially for an elderly person. And there's a couple that you can get, and it does kind of the similar thing like what I want to do, but it's subscription based. And I don't want to go through a subscription and have to pay a monthly fee for her, and she doesn't want to pay a monthly fee either. It's not that I mind it; it's just I know she won't ever use it. Uh, because I've watched videos and a lot of them you have to press a lot of different buttons. A lot of it's programmed over the phone, and she doesn't understand all that. Um, she's also fairly deaf, so trying to teach her any of this would be very hard. So I thought I'd come up with a pill dispenser, and that's going to be the initial project. So um, I do have some leftover stuff from graduating college. I graduated about 4 months ago, and got stuck in tutorial hell, and now I've kind of clawed my way up and clawed my way out of it rather, and have been going through interviews, just getting myself out there. So the channel is really there for a log to kind of follow my process, and I'm trying to improve my process because I still find myself falling back into the program right away and then not even think about it until like afterwards, and you have all these problems. Kind of chaotic programming in a way. So I wanted to kind of build a bigger project, record myself, record the whole process, and share it with people because maybe somebody else might want to create something like this. It'll be open source at the end, and all the code will be up on GitHub. But for the initial process, I haven't really come up with a finalized name. So right now, I'm calling it TPD for Tilly's Pill Dispenser. Uh, a lot of the material I already have, so it's not really going to cost me anything. I might include like on later videos like what it should cost or what the average cost of building this would be. But I have a lot of stuff left over from college, and I have a 3D printer that I bought during college to use through my final project and all that. So I'm going to be using that as well. And the files I create for the final project will be uploaded on GitHub as well, or included in the project in general. So it's really a log to kind of follow my process, but I thought I'd share it with everybody. Maybe somebody else, might figure this out. And if my voice kind of sounds scratchy or crackly, I have a torn larynx, so that never quite healed properly. So if you hear like a bottle of water open or stuff, I have to drink a lot of water when I talk a lot. Anyway, uh, so currently, I haven't really thought of an actual full design. I've been kind of toying with different ideas. My initial idea was to have like a circular thing that rotates with a stepper motor or a servo motor, probably because that's all I have. So it would turn it, and so there'd be a second disc underneath with a pocket holes for pills. I'm not an artist by any means, so I do apologize for really bad artwork. So this would turn around, and each one would have like a pie slit that would be filled with pills. So it would turn and get pushed forward, dropping a single pill, hopefully, into the hole, which would fall into a cup. But that process seems a little. It's possible, but I just kind of scratched that idea early. It's way too complex for what I need it. Really, she takes a morning, lunch, and dinner pills. Uh, and her biggest problem is she has a hard time remembering what pills to take at certain times, and opening the pill bottles. So I figured each one of these should be a, instead of having to go all the way around and around and around and dispense pills depending on what time of day it is, I thought of maybe creating a container that would hold the morning pills, a container for the lunch pills, and etc. So these would drop down into the, you know, where she can get it, the access port. So that's kind of where I am now. Is kind of trying to create like a design that I think would be functional, and I think the individual morning, lunch, and dinner pill containers would work best. The problem, well, not really a problem, but where I'm kind of thinking it would be a problem is like, how am I going to get it to where it just, drops into a container? So the current process would be, I think, would have them lined up here, have a little port here, so a little motor here would push them as they go along. So we'd have a separator here, so we'd have all the jars lined up for however many days. So they would rest on top of each other, basically. So they'd be in a line. So they would fall in here, so we'd have three initial in the, I guess, dispensing port. So it'd be morning, lunch, and dinner, so it'd be backwards. So the stepper motor here, put motor and for motor. Actually, I'll start over. And so for the idea I have, so you'd have the box container, you'd have the separator, so the containers would be here. Containers. You'd have the dispensing port, DP. We'd have a stepper motor here that would have a arm that would push either a block forward or something forward. I haven't figured out what I'm going to use there. Probably styrofoam, just to prevent all these from dropping right away. So motor. So here would be the fall part, or where it would be dispensed, so there'd be a little entranceway over here. So the idea here would be the containers would fall, in a level of 3, in a line of 3, at, let's say, we set up a schedule at 7 o'clock. It would push at 7 o'clock a.m. It would push the first one open, which would be the breakfast. So this would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So now breakfast would fall in here. She can come and get it. It'd be ready, and by 12 o'clock, the second one would come over here, be pushed off, and then finally the third for dinner at, let's say, 6 o'clock. And then the stepper motor would pull whatever device I have here back, and the next 3 would fall. That's the idea. So these would fall down, gravity fed. Pardon my writing, I'm terrible at writing with a stylus pen on a drawing pad or whatever it is. This thing's called it. Bamboo writing pad, whatever. I got it for Christmas and I haven't really used it that much, so I've been playing around with it now. So that's the idea currently. and that's probably the idea I'm going to go with for the first version. I don't know how it's going to do initially. I might have another video kind of replanning this as I think of different ways to do it. Initially, the process before this, we start a new layer. The process before this was to kind of have the similar situation, but instead I was going to make it like a circular round. So the containers would fall this way and then be dispensed over here. So there'd be 3 lanes here, and the pills would basically do the same thing, fall into a pit at certain times. But I scratched that idea because having to try and build something like that, even with a 3D printer, would be pretty costly electrical wise, because I've noticed running the 3D printer is the electrical bill goes sky high. So I'm trying to keep my funds down, especially since I don't have a job. I'm currently looking for a job. Another idea I had was using those plastic cups they sell at Sam's with the lid. So the pills would be in here, and those would be the ones that fall into the thing. The only problem with that is the lids are hard to open, and she has arthritis, so I don't want to cause any more added problems. Another possibility is to take off the lid and just have the pills resting on each other, so I'd have one container here, and the next container would sit here on top of the pills. The only problem with that is as they're falling, they might not fall in the right amount of time. So time has a big effect on gravity fed. Designs. So since I'm having something else come and push them, this one might get stuck in this one, and she might get either two pill containers at the bottom versus one. So that's why I thought of creating my own really loose fit pill bottles, so the lids would come off really easily. Pretty much just make it a lot smaller, the base a lot smaller, so the lid will come off easier. That's been my thought process for the design anyway. It needs to be square because square is the easiest thing to build without having to go through too much work. So it'll be probably painted white because that's her house is painted is white. Her kitchen is white, so I wanted to match. Oops, sorry again. Chair keeps getting stuck on the desk. So that's my idea right now. For the parts, I'm planning on using as a Raspberry Pi, an Arduino, servo motors. I have 4 on hand, so I can't use more than 4. I also have a servo controller, pulse width modular controller for servo motors, so I'll be using that. I don't know why I keep drawing a B. So that's a P. Which would drive the servo motors. I'd also have to have a separate power supply for this. So I do have an extra power supply, but it takes up to 5 volts. So I got a lot of these 5 volt plugs and just kind of cut them from well, we have a Savers here, which is kind of like a Goodwill. So those are all kind of scrap. So I think I bought like 10 for like $4, if not less. I don't remember. It's been a while since I got them. I got them at the beginning of college. So my first semester, I had an Arduino class, and we needed power supplies for a lot of the different things, like, including like LED strips. So I went to Savers and just built my own little power regulator to plug in whatever and kind of regulate it down to 5 volts. Excuse me. So that's the idea for the hardware, anyway. For the software part, I'm kind of debating. I'm gonna probably build it in Electron. Because I can send serial. I can communicate serial through the serial port using Electron because it's a Node.js. Another idea I had was setting it up with Flask. So I'd have an API that it would connect to. That way I can, extend this to maybe having a mobile app. But that might be on a different version of this. Initially, I probably will go with Electron. I'm favoring that. And for the front end, I'm probably going to use Angular. It's what I like. I was going to attempt to do this in React, but I don't really like React. So I'm probably going to avoid React as much as I can. So that's the idea so far. I don't know if it's making any sense. So I guess the next video I'll kind of finalize a little bit more and kind of come up with a checklist of what I have and maybe not a checklist, just kind of like finalize what the actual idea is and what I'm actually going to be using. This is kind of like just a video of me thinking out the process of what I'm going to be using. I'm trying to think of other ways. Oh, I also will have a 3.5-inch screen that I have, a touch screen. That'll be the way she's able to press dispense in case it doesn't dispense at a certain time. So I guess I'll cover that as well. So I need it to dispense at certain times of the day. So I'll have different blocks. And basically the serial communication will be very basic. I know I'm kind of bouncing around. So basically in the morning it'll just send a signal to dispense. So basically the Arduino is just there to control the servo motors, so it'll move things according to however I have it set up in the end. Like I said, this is just a initial thought process video. So somehow I have to have it where it sets up the times, so my aunt or me can set up the time in the user interface, and that'll be persisted to either a SQLite or JSON file. I know writing to a JSON file and pulling from it's not really proper, but since it's such a kind of a basic interface and basic functionality, it has basic functionality at the moment. Well, it doesn't have it. It will have. I don't really want to go to hosting anything, or I'm trying to keep this down, the price down as much as possible. I don't have to spend any more money than I already have, since I have a lot of this stuff already. So that's the idea so far. I hope I hope somebody likes this and maybe uses it. If they do, all I ask for is credit that I was the initial designer of it or whatever. Just that I get credit in general, but I'm not gonna have too much time spent. Like I said, I'm trying to find a job, and if you hear noise in the background, I have a rabbit, so she's messing with the box. So I do apologize for that. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. I'll probably come up with another video soon enough to finalize ideas a little more. Initially I wanted to do this on paper with a webcam, but the webcam I have is really, it's not that great. It's just there for, I had it in college and I wanted to use it so I could show the circuit board when I get to that point. So I dug it out of hiding and wanted to use it, but the focus keeps going in and out, so I decided not to do it on paper. Just try and do it using the drawing pad on the computer. So I hope you like this. Thanks. There'll be more videos to come.